Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Wine. Welcome back to art class. This week we will be working on day 4 of our Zentangle hand drawing. This week you will need your drawing, a pencil, possibly a ruler, and either a superfine black Sharpie or a black pen. So once you have gathered those materials, we're ready to get started. This week, our learning target says I will create simple Zentangle patterns to fill large areas. Why would you want your largest areas to have more simple patterns? Well, number one, because they're bigger, so it will be easier to fill them. So before you can start with your patterns, make sure that you are finished with last week's lesson. So last week, you needed to trace your hand 4 or 5 times. Remember, you were trying to create these areas where your fingers overlapped. Then you need to neatly trace all of your hand lines with Sharpie or a thin black pen. Once you have that done, you're ready to start adding patterns to the largest areas. So look at this drawing. Where are the largest shapes? The wrist and the palm, including the thumb, in all of the hands, and also the background. You could choose to make the background have one pattern in all areas, or you could make each one of these backgrounds have a pattern that is different. So these are the areas that you should be starting on first today. If you finish patterns in all of these areas, then you could move on to some of the smaller areas like some of the fingers. Remember, to create patterns, go back and look at your pattern practice sheets. Especially if you're trying to create really simple patterns, you should be looking at your designs in boxes 1 and 2 of every row. You could always go back and add on more to make the patterns more complex. Remember, you can also borrow ideas from these patterns or from the Zentangle patterns on the back of your pattern practice sheet. Anything can be a pattern as long as it is repeating. If you can, draw directly in pen where possible. I understand that you might want to draw in pencil first and then trace, but if the area is small or if you feel confident with the pattern, then you can draw it directly in pen. And most importantly this week, make sure that no pattern crosses over the black line of the hand. You can see from looking at this example, once you start to draw the patterns in the fingers, you're no longer thinking about this as being one finger. It's an individual shape here, and another shape here, and a different shape here, and another shape here, and a different shape there. Each one of these small individual shapes where the fingers overlap get a different pattern. Also, make sure that you are leaving some areas empty because next week we're going to be adding on with color. Use some of your own patterns, borrow some ideas from the pattern sheets, or you could borrow some of those ideas and add your own unique twist. Once you have the large areas of the hand finished, so the palm and the background, maybe a few of the large fingers, it's also a good idea to go back and do some evaluation. Look at your patterns. Are you using a wide variety of lines and shapes to make the patterns interesting? Are some of your patterns a light value while some of them are a medium value? You probably don't want any of your large patterns to be a dark value because that would involve a complex pattern or coloring something in. Are you making your patterns neatly? Are you using a ruler if you're trying to make straight lines to make your lines precise and smooth? Are you staying inside each individual shape? A line is like a stop sign. It means stop and change to a different pattern. And finally, if you're starting to do any patterns that are a little more complex, you just want to make sure that you're using different lines and different shapes. You should be working to try to have all shows in your pattern work. And if you have any grows, what are those next steps that you need to be working on to keep improving your patterns? I hope you have a wonderful week. I cannot wait to see how your patterns start to develop. And as always, keep on creating.